Picture this: a YouTube creator with nearly 1 million loyal fans, building an empire one heroic rescue at a time. Then imagine that same creator accidentally filming the evidence that would bring investigators knocking on his door. That's exactly what happened to Matt Wetzel, the face behind Matt's off-road recovery. What started as routine recoveries across Utah's unforgiving terrain turned into a felony charge that could have landed him behind bars for over a decade. But here's the twist nobody saw coming. The scandal didn't destroy him. It made him bigger than ever. Matt Wetzel wasn't always a YouTube sensation. Just a few years ago, he was running Winder Towing, a standard recovery operation based in Hurricane, Utah. The channel launched in 2018, and what happened next was nothing short of explosive. Within 3 years, the subscriber count skyrocketed to nearly 900,000 people tuning in to watch Matt and his crew tackle some of the most brutal rescues imaginable. Stuck vehicles buried axle-deep in sand, trucks dangling off cliff edges, recovery missions in the middle of nowhere. This was content that kept viewers glued to their screens. The appeal was simple but powerful. Matt came across as genuine, hard-working, and skilled. Every video showed real recoveries, real challenges, and real solutions. There was no fake drama, no manufactured crisis, just a guy with serious equipment pulling off impressive rescues while cracking jokes with his team. The authenticity resonated with millions. Behind the YouTube fame, Winder Towing operated as an official Auto-A affiliate. That partnership meant legitimacy, steady business, and trust from customers who needed roadside assistance. Auto-A's stamp of approval carried weight. It told customers they were dealing with professionals who played by the rules. Matt's business was thriving both online and offline, generating revenue from ads, merchandise, and legitimate towing contracts. Everything seemed to be going perfectly. The future looked bright, the channel was growing, and the money was rolling in. But investigators were already watching. In 2020, someone filed a complaint with the Utah Insurance Fraud Division. The details remain unclear about who made that initial report, but it set off a chain reaction that would tear through Matt's business. Investigators began digging into Winder Towing's Auto-A claims, and what they found raised serious concerns. The examination focused on transactions between January 2019 and August 2020, a period when Matt's channel was experiencing massive growth and his workload was exploding. As investigators combed through paperwork, patterns started emerging, claims that didn't quite add up, charges that seemed inflated, services that fell outside Auto-A's coverage guidelines. The red flags kept piling up, and the numbers were significant, over $15,000 in questionable reimbursements. This wasn't a case of one or two mistakes slipping through the cracks. This looked systematic. The Utah Insurance Fraud Division doesn't mess around with small-time complaints. They handle serious cases involving organized schemes, fraudulent claims, and significant financial losses. The fact that they devoted resources to investigating Matt's operation meant they believed something substantial was happening. They weren't chasing minor billing errors or accidental overcharges. What made this case particularly interesting was the evidence trail. Most insurance fraud investigations rely on complicated paper trails, witness testimony, and financial forensics. But Matt's situation was different. He had documented everything himself, uploading it for the world to see. The investigators didn't need to build a case from scratch, they just needed to press play. And what they found on his YouTube channel would become the centerpiece of the prosecution's argument. April 2020. Matt's channel uploads a video showing a recovery at Sand Hollow State Park, a popular off-roading destination near Hurricane. The footage shows his team extracting a Polaris RZR that had gotten stuck in challenging terrain. It's standard content for the channel: good equipment, skilled operators, satisfied customer. The video racks up views, comments pour in, and nobody thinks twice about it. Except for the investigators building a case. Here's the problem that Matt apparently didn't consider. Auto-A doesn't cover off-road vehicles. Their roadside assistance is designed for cars, trucks, motorcycles, and RVs used on public roads. A Polaris RZR is a recreational off-road vehicle explicitly excluded from coverage. But according to investigators, The owner of that RZR used a friend's AAA membership to get the recovery done. When filing the claim, they reportedly listed it as a truck instead of what it actually was. The reimbursement went through, and Matt's company collected payment for a service that should never have been covered. The investigators didn't need to rely on paperwork alone. They had video evidence showing exactly what was recovered. Matt had filmed the entire thing, provided detailed commentary, and uploaded it publicly. The vehicle type was unmistakable. There was no ambiguity, no room for interpretation. The footage showed precisely what happened, and it contradicted what appeared on the insurance claim. This single incident became a cornerstone of the case against Matt. It demonstrated a clear violation of AAA's coverage policies, and the fact that he documented it himself made prosecution significantly easier. But this wasn't the only questionable claim investigators uncovered. The Polaris incident was just the beginning. As investigators dug deeper, more problematic claims surfaced. One case involved construction materials being transported under the guise of a vehicle recovery. Matt's company charged $2,800 to haul building supplies to Salt Lake City, then reportedly filed it as a legitimate tow covered by DAR-AA. Construction materials aren't vehicles, and hauling them falls completely outside roadside assistance coverage. Yet the claim apparently went through, and payment was processed. Another pattern emerged that was even more troubling. According to investigators, Matt allegedly told customers to sign up for a membership after their vehicle had already been recovered, then backdate the claim to make it appear the membership existed before the service. This practice, if proven, would constitute deliberate fraud rather than simple billing mistakes. It suggested intentional manipulation of the system for financial gain. The Apple Valley case added another layer. A recovery that occurred between Apple Valley and Washington County was reportedly filed as originating from Las Vegas instead. Why does location matter? Because AAA coverage varies by distance and region. Misrepresenting where a vehicle was recovered could result in higher reimbursement rates or coverage for services that wouldn't otherwise qualify. Investigators found the location discrepancy suspicious and included it in their evidence. Perhaps most brazen was a claim for nearly $500 for a recovery that allegedly never happened at all. The paperwork existed, the reimbursement was processed, but investigators couldn't find evidence that any actual service occurred. If accurate, this represented pure fabrication, charging for work that was never performed. The scope of questionable claims continued expanding. December 2020. Investigators contact Matt directly. The phone conversation that follows would later become part of the case record, and Matt's words during that call reveal his perspective on what happened. He didn't deny the allegations. Instead, he acknowledged responsibility while simultaneously defending his actions. His argument boiled down to a specific phrase: wrong on the front end, fair on the back end. What did that mean? According to Matt, he recognized that his billing practices might have violated AAA's technical guidelines. The front-end issues, how claims were categorized, what services were included, how coverage was applied, those might have been incorrect. But he maintained that the back end was fair because customers received real services worth the money charged. In his view, every claim represented legitimate work performed, even if the paperwork didn't perfectly align with the base outdoor's requirements. Matt told investigators he provided numerous services before submitting claims. His position was essentially that customers got their money's worth, regardless of whether the specific service technically qualified for OI coverage. He wasn't scamming people or charging for work he didn't perform. He was bending the rules about what topic OI should reimburse. His attorney later characterized the violations as technical rather than criminal fraud. The argument suggested Matt made administrative errors or misunderstood coverage guidelines rather than deliberately scheming to defraud the insurance system. It was a defense strategy that acknowledged wrongdoing while minimizing its severity. The question became whether prosecutors and the court would accept that interpretation or view his actions as something more calculated and intentional. Here's where the story takes its most unexpected turn. Throughout the entire investigation, charges, and legal proceedings, Matt's off-road recovery never stopped posting. Videos continued appearing on schedule. The channel didn't go dark, didn't issue dramatic apologies, didn't rebrand or distance itself from Matt. Business proceeded as usual. And the audience didn't abandon him. In fact, the opposite happened. When the case first emerged, the channel had roughly 900,000 subscribers. Today, that number stands at over 2 million. The scandal didn't destroy his brand. It somehow made him more popular. Whether people appreciated his authenticity, forgave his mistakes, or simply enjoyed the content regardless of legal troubles, the growth continued accelerating. Current estimates place Matt's net worth around $4 million. The YouTube channel generates substantial ad revenue, merchandise sales remain strong, and the towing business continues operating. The OLOLA affiliate status may have been affected, but the core business survived and adapted. Matt found ways to keep making money despite the legal complications. The channel's comment sections occasionally reference the case, but most viewers focus on the recoveries themselves. They're there for stuck trucks, dramatic saves, and Matt's commentary, not to debate insurance fraud technicalities. The controversy became background noise rather than career-ending scandal. This outcome raises uncomfortable questions about accountability in the YouTube era. Matt committed fraud, got caught, paid minimal financial penalties, served no jail time, and emerged wealthier and more successful than before. Is that justice, or did he simply game a system that rewards fame above all else? When charges were officially filed, Matt faced serious consequences. The initial charge was a second-degree felony, which in Utah carries a potential sentence of 1 to 15 years in prison. That's not a slap on the wrist. That's the kind of charge that destroys careers and tears families apart. For someone running a successful YouTube channel and growing business, the prospect of over a decade behind bars represented total catastrophe. The case proceeded through the legal system while Matt's channel continued operating. He kept uploading videos, maintained his posting schedule, and didn't publicly address the charges in detail. Subscribers continued watching, commenting, and supporting the channel. Many didn't even know about the legal trouble brewing behind the scenes. February 2022 brought resolution. Matt entered a no-contest plea to a reduced charge, a Class A misdemeanor instead of the original felony. The difference was massive. Instead of potential prison time, he received 18 months of probation. The financial penalties included repaying $15,328 to AAA plus $1,745 in fines and fees. Total financial impact, just over $17,000. Prosecutors expressed satisfaction with the outcome. From their perspective, Matt took responsibility, paid restitution, and faced consequences proportional to his actions. The reduced charge suggested they viewed this as fraud of opportunity rather than sophisticated criminal enterprise. He hadn't created fake identities, manufactured elaborate schemes, or stolen massive sums. He'd bent the rules, got caught, and now had to make it right. For the legal system, justice was served. So what's the real lesson here? Matt Wetzel filmed his own evidence, faced felony charges that could have meant 15 years behind bars, and walked away with probation and a fine that barely dented his bank account. The punishment was real, but so was the reward. His channel more than doubled in size, his business thrived, and his net worth climbed into the millions. The irony is almost poetic, documenting your own fraud and somehow coming out stronger on the other side. It makes you wonder whether YouTube fame creates a different set of rules, where controversy equals visibility and visibility equals money. Did Matt pay an appropriate price for his actions, or did he accidentally discover that scandal can be profitable? That's the question his story leaves unanswered, and maybe that uncertainty is the most disturbing part of all.